Problematic behavior versus a personality disorder. Problematic behavior. Problematic behavior is usually viewed as any type of behavior that defies social and/or legal standards of conduct. This kind of behavior may be problematic in the sense that it creates interpersonal issues, or it could be severe and they could have legal issues because of it. Any degree of problematic behavior can cause, at a minimum, major disruption, dysfunction, and destruction in a person's life and in the lives of those around them, whether the person with problematic behavior realizes it or not. Many people who are in problematic or abusive relationships struggle with trying to get clarity as to what they're experiencing. If and when they come across the concept of a personality disorder, it's very common and understandable for them to then want clarity as to whether or not this person just has a bunch of problematic behavior or if this person does indeed have a personality disorder. If they do have a personality disorder, they often, again understandably, want to know which one they have and if there is any type of treatment for it. And so they agonize over trying to figure out if this person perhaps has borderline personality disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, antisocial personality disorder, or what. However, keep in mind that a person doesn't have to have a full-out personality disorder to cause a tremendous amount of stress, chaos, damage, and disruption in your life. Fleas. The term fleas is a slang term for problematic behavior that is picked up in an environment infested with dysfunction. It is very common for people who have been in a relationship with a narcissistic person, especially for several years or more, to start to see problematic behavior within themselves, and for them to become terrified by this realization. They might wonder if narcissism is contagious, or if they've become a narcissist. If this describes some of your fear about your own behavior, please know that you can get rid of your fleas, and that your problematic behaviors can be changed if you have the awareness that there is a problem, the desire to change it, and take action to behave differently. If we come from a dysfunctional home or relationship, which estimates are around 85% of us do, and frankly I think it's higher than that, then odds are we have some problematic behavior that we either learned from our parents or that we developed as a defense or a coping strategy around being around an abuser. In addition, it's very common for an abuser to accuse their target of being a narcissist if they stand up for themselves, try to set a boundary, have a problem with how they're being treated, or question a narcissist in any way. Personality disorder. According to the Mayo Clinic, a personality disorder is defined as a type of mental disorder in which a person has a rigid and unhealthy pattern of thinking, functioning, and behaving, and has trouble perceiving and relating to situations and people. Generally, personality disorders are apparent by the time a person reaches adolescence, and causes a person difficulties in personal relationships, as well as how they function in society. What makes a person with a personality disorder so difficult to change isn't so much that they have problematic behavior, because we all do to some extent. It's the degree, frequency, and their ability or desire to change that's the problem. The challenge with getting absolute clarity as to whether or not a person has a personality disorder is that most people with manipulative and abusive behavior don't often want to go to therapy. They don't think they have a problem, or they think their partner has the problem. And if they are especially manipulative and they do go to therapy, there's a very high chance that they can and will manipulate the clinician into thinking either they don't have a problem or that their partner does. In addition, please realize that a person could go to a handful of different clinicians and get a handful of different diagnoses. This isn't to say that any of these diagnoses are necessarily inaccurate, or that the clinicians were necessarily manipulated. It's that a lot of symptoms and diagnoses overlap, and it means that the diagnosis given is largely a combination based on the clinician's experience diagnosing personality disorders, as well as the behavior that they saw from that person at that time. But, frankly, I think that trying to sort out problematic behavior from personality disordered behavior is losing sight of the bigger picture, meaning If a person in your life has behavior that is problematic for you, then it's a problem, and you don't need to stick around and spend time with someone who drains your energy or who is hurtful or harmful. This is where having a clear idea of what your deal breakers are, and also being clear about how long you are willing to stay and what kinds of changes you need to see happen in order for you to stay, are important. If leaving is not an option, for whatever reason, then I'd encourage you to redirect your energy from trying to get them to change to focusing on how you can make your life as tolerable, ideally enjoyable, as possible with them in it. Because to spend your life trying to get them to change will only exhaust you and annoy them. The following comes from Lucy, a co-leader of our book club, friend, and valued member of the support group, who so perfectly sums up her experience with this. If you have a problem with anything at all that they are doing and you point it out, you are told that you are the narcissist. Now, they may not use that word, and you may not know that word, or the concept, or the DSM description, but whenever they behave in ways that you find triggering, rude, uncompassionate, non-empathetic, cruel, judgmental, attacking, predatory, or anything less than a normal humanitarian, mature, adult manner, and you point it out and ask for better, you are promptly re-attacked and drowned in a deluge of justification for their behavior. They might blame you and accuse you of having caused them to behave in this manner in the first place, and that their actions are simply defensive actions that they are taking to protect themselves from you. In addition, you learn quickly, either through their rage or their silent treatment, that you have no right to call them on any of their behavior ever. You are told that you are selfish, self-centered, self-serving, want too much, expect too much, are delusional, unrealistic, self-seeking, self-aggrandizing, and just plain full of yourself about what sort of behavior you deserve and how you deserve to be treated, and that you haven't earned the right to be treated with respect. In short, you are made to feel that you are selfish, grasping, greedy, entitled, self-serving, self-centered, boundary-busting, uncharitable, unchristian, unreasonable, unforgiving, wrong, crazy, bad, weak, too needy, and you are in fact asking them to become superhuman, asking for too much and more than human can bear, to ask them to make any change in their behavior at all. The very fact that you even ask for any behavior at all to stop makes them turn on you, and what you receive back is entirely and completely disproportional to the request made. But in their mind, there is not a shred of doubt. You are the one who is and has the problem. You may have asked for one thing. You may have said it is not okay to yell at me, and in response you get a dissertation on how and why you made them yell at you, and how awful, horrible, and selfish you are to ask them to change anything about themselves, because after all, in their mind, it's all your fault that they had to yell at you in the first place. If you hadn't forgotten to buy milk, they wouldn't have had to yell at you. If you hadn't worn so much makeup, they wouldn't have called you a whore and accused you of cheating. If you had only been home more, lost weight, dressed sexier, they wouldn't have cheated. If you had only made chicken salad for dinner instead of pizza, they wouldn't have beaten you because you made the house too hot by using the oven. In response to your single and simple request for them to not yell, call you names, or hit, they start World War III, in retaliation for you making any request at all for them to change. And over time you begin to think that you really are the problem, and if you could just do or be better, that they would stop abusing you. But it never stops, because their abuse isn't caused by you, and it can't be stopped by you. It's a reflection of them and their pathologically distorted mindset. And while all this is going on, your boundaries have been eroded and washed away without you even realizing what and how it is happening. Now you begin to wonder if you are the narcissist. Even if you do not know the word, over time you begin to feel and to be convinced that you are the problem. You, the person who is expecting too much, you are the selfish and self-centered one. You are so busy sorting through their response to you that contains a million elements, a million moving parts, and all of the accusations that are leveled at you, that your mind simply becomes so confused that you lose sight of the original subject. Your mind does not have the ability or the capability of sorting through all of these accusations that are leveled against you and evaluating their veracity or truthfulness, or the accuracy of these accusations. So you completely lose your ability to get back to the original subject of what caused you to raise this issue in the first place. You become engrossed and enmeshed and mired in sorting out answers to questions like, am I too demanding? Do I expect too much? Was I being uncharitable? Am I too judgmental? Was I being selfish? Am I being controlling? What rights do I really have? What do I deserve? Then next, you get lost in rationalizing their incomprehensible response to you. The response given to your simple request was then rebutted and retorted to with World War III proportional tactics. And because of the extreme depth and breadth and level of the details within the response you received, just the fact that it is so very, very detailed, then it appears at first glance to be something well thought out, so you in turn begin to think, maybe I am being too hard on them. Maybe I am asking for too much. Maybe they cannot control themselves as well as I can. Maybe they don't understand because they have never had children. Maybe they've had too much to drink. Maybe they had a bad childhood. Maybe they've been abused. Maybe. A million maybe reasons, possibilities, and potential reasons float up into your mind, and it is at this point that you totally lose the battle. I have heard this scenario referred to as doing mental gymnastics when dealing with one of these characters, and that feels like a very, very accurate description. You end up having to do mental gymnastics in order to try to keep up with their astounding chutzpah, bravado, and entitlement at exhibiting the bad behavior in the first place. The mental fortitude you summon to make your original protest to the human rights violation that just occurred, when you try to set the boundary that it is not okay to yell at me, or I don't take orders, I don't date cheaters, it is not okay to steal from me, it is not okay to lie to me. The dizziness and confusion that ensues when their response deluges you and sucks you under, like being overwhelmed by a tidal wave with its sheer volume and level of details and explanations and rationalizations for how and why you caused them to behave and to speak or act toward you in this manner in the first place. Your own sense of guilt and responsibility that arises based on the return volley and level of details given as your very sense of justice and fairness starts to bob and weave about and is tossed upon the waves, and then you begin to backtrack and start to question your own experience and your own expectations, and begin to try to rationalize their unacceptable behavior. The stabbing concern and sense of responsibility you feel when told with confidence and assertion and with no uncertainty or wavering at all, and like it is a well-known, widely known and accepted fact that you are the root cause of all the problems that you are experiencing between the two of you. Starting over. Often this will be followed up with assertions that many others, many unnamed others, have also experienced this same exact phenomenon within their interactions with you, and that it is a deep and abiding cause for concern, and that possibly mental health assistance could be helpful to you in seeing your own huge contribution to this dilemma. There is an assertion made with great bravado and great confidence that it is very distressing to them that you cannot see and grasp and know how in reality it is you who are causing and are the root cause of all these conflicts, and you are the reason and root cause and responsible for all of their bad behavior. If very lucky, you might get an admission from them of something like, yes, I should not have screamed, cheated, lied, or stolen from you, but I just want you to know that you caused it. That you need to work harder on your personal interaction skills, because make no mistake about it, you are the one who is pushing me beyond my tolerance levels and making me lose my cool and making me act this way. If this is your experience, I want to make it absolutely 100% clear this is not how a mature, emotionally healthy adult responds to a request for better treatment, better behavior, or a request for a halt or stop to destructive, damaging, unproductive behavior. Ever. This may indeed be your normal experience with them and with how they fight, but this isn't healthy or even workable. This is what crazy-making behavior looks like in motion. But make no mistake about it. This is the farthest thing away from healthy and normal as one can possibly get. Repeat, this type of behavior is about as far away from normal and healthy behavior as one can ever possibly get. Ever. And I can prove it right here, right now, very, very simply and very, very easily. I can prove who is the perpetrator, who is the narcissist, who is the instigator, who is the aggressor, who is the predator, and who is the prey, who is the victim, and who is the target, and who is the scapegoat. If I come to you, and I say to you one of two things. If I say to you, number one, when you yell at me, I feel hurt and scared, and I feel like you don't care about me. What is your response? What do you do with this information? How do you use it? Do you stop yelling, apologize, and do your very best to do better? Do you vow to consistently do better and stop yelling moving forward? Or do you attack even harder and start justifying your yelling and try to beat your opponent into the ground and try to convince them that they caused you to yell at them in the first place? Or do you make and give a lip service only, surface level, shallow apology, but secretly store the information up in your mind as a weapon to be used against them in the future? Do you store up and save the fact that yelling at them makes them feel hurt and scared and unloved? And do you save it up not as a reminder to yourself to be careful and to not hurt them, but rather the opposite? Store it up and save it in a weapons arsenal as an excellent and valuable tool and weapon to be used at a later date for power and control over them. Or, 2, if we are talking and I say, it is not okay to yell at me. I will talk to you, but it is not okay to yell at me. Or it is not okay to lie to me. It is not okay to steal from me. It is not okay to attack me in front of my friends. It is not okay to put me down. It is not okay to mock me. It is not okay to give me orders, etc. What is your response? Do you deny that you yelled and rationalize it and blame me and tell me that I am responsible for you yelling at me? And do you tell me that I caused you to yell and in fact forced you to have no choice except to yell? Or do you take responsibility for yelling and agree it was wrong to yell and stop yelling? Do you accuse me of trying to control you and tell me I am a bad person for trying to control you? Do you tell me I have no right to tell you how to act? In both cases, your response is most likely, spider. That's not your response, that's mine. In both cases, your response is most likely, please tell me exactly what I'm doing wrong. I care about you. I cannot stand for you to feel that way. I feel so bad. Please tell me what I can do and how I can change to make you feel better. I want you to feel safe and happy around me, and it breaks my heart that I have hurt you. Let's work this out together, and I promise I'm going to work very hard to make you not make you feel this way anymore. This is what being a solutions-oriented and working as a team looks like in motion. So I think that we feel like we are the narcissist because they tell us we are being uppity and getting too big for our britches when we ask for fair and decent, respectful treatment from them. This is a theme from my childhood. Requests for fair and decent treatment are met with responses that we are being selfish, controlling, and narcissistic. We are told that we believe we are better than we are. We are told that we are asking for better treatment than we deserve. We are told that we have to earn the right to decent, respectful, fair treatment, and that we are not there yet and just must try harder. And harder we try because we are still making them blow their cork, and we are making them slap, hit, yell, shove, scream, attack, mock, insult, belittle, and hurt. So they know for a fact that we don't deserve better treatment yet because we are still forcing them to behave badly. And that is how they know for a fact that we don't deserve decent, kind, respectful treatment. And that is crazy talk. But if you try to remain and try to continue to listen to it, you will end up losing your sanity and you will come to believe that you are, in fact, worthless and crazy. This is what life is like with a narcissist or a sociopath/psychopath. New story. When I first came across the term sociopath, I realized that was my ex. I then spent a lot of time trying to figure out what the other toxic people in my life were, if they were sociopaths, or if they were just lying, cheating, rude, and so on. I've since realized that I don't want anyone with problematic behaviors in my life. I got rid of all the crazy makers, controllers, and people who ran really hot and cold towards me, and my life is so much calmer. Ben. News story. I grew up in a home with an incredibly narcissistic and abusive mother, and I've always been concerned that I would be like her. The more I learn about abusive behavior, boundaries, and what is healthy, the more I see a lot of problematic things I do. I was scared for a while that I was a narcissist, but then someone in a support group told me that I most likely had fleas, and that I could change these things if I really wanted to. I'm happy to say that I've gotten rid of a lot of my fleas, and the relationships in my life are much better. Diana. A relationship versus a manipulationship. A relationship. A relationship is a dynamic between two people and is based on mutual trust, dignity, support, and respect, and includes open, honest, sincere, and solutions-oriented communication. If one person makes a mistake or has an issue, it is brought up, discussed, and a resolution is reached. Problems come up, feelings might be hurt, and fights happen, but both people are able to fight fair and not seek to destroy each other in the process. However, if you are a target of abuse, it's important that you realize that this isn't a relationship, because the dynamic isn't based on mutuality, it's based on control, and that by having open, honest, sincere, solutions-oriented communication, it will only make things worse. A manipulationship. A manipulationship is a one-sided dynamic between two people that is based on manipulation, and includes deceitfulness, lies, control, and generally a lot of cheating, siphoning funds, and other types of squirrely behavior. It is based around one person, the emotional manipulator, continually doing whatever they want, with whomever they want, as much as they want. And if and when they get caught, they often deny their behavior, blame others, which can include accusing their partner of being jealous, crazy, insecure, or overly emotional, giving empty promises that things will change, all the while they're not changing. They're just getting better at hiding their problematic behavior. In a manipulationship, one person works out of their self-interest, has no sincere regard for the devastation that their behavior causes to their partner or to the relationship, and uses guilt, obligation, intimidation, fear, and control to get the other to stay. All the while, the other one is resigned to continually doing damage control and forgiving them, giving them a second or 20-second chance, all with the hopes that maybe this time things will be different. Narcissists and other types of emotional manipulators are often nothing short of emotional terrorists, and their targets are their captives. Please do not confuse this for love. Love isn't abusive. It doesn't cheat, steal, lie, exploit, or neglect the other person. And it for sure doesn't leave the receiver of that love feeling emotionally devastated and ground down. News story. Once I heard the term manipulationship, it was like I saw what was going on clearly. I kept holding on, thinking we were in a relationship and that everything could be fixed if I could just get through to him. However, he kept lying, cheating, and refusing to be accountable for anything he ever did. So while I was trying to fix things, he was content on breaking them, and then making me seem like I was at fault for why everything was broken. Or he'd deny that things were broken and tell me I was crazy. Serena. Real intimacy versus rushed intimacy. Real intimacy. Real intimacy happens over time, and it's mutual. It's based on trust that is earned by a person having consistent, appropriate behavior, their words and actions matching up over a reasonable amount of time, and cannot be rushed. Building trusts consists of sharing some information about ourselves and then watching how a person handles what we've shared with them, and then adjusting accordingly, whether this means slowly revealing more to them over time because they've proven themselves to be safe and trustworthy, or pulling back and not revealing any more to this person because they are acting in a way that is untrustworthy or that makes us feel unsafe. Rushed intimacy. Rushed intimacy is a shallow interaction or superficial connection between two people. These intense connections often happen when an emotional manipulator rushes intimacy, as they often create an intense soulmate connection with their target by becoming a charming, likable, perfect partner that is so interested in them. They mirror back all of their target's likes and dislikes, and so, for the target, this intense connection doesn't feel rushed at all. If anything, for their target, it feels incredibly right, like they've finally met their perfect partner or have won the relationship lottery. Some examples of how emotional manipulators rush intimacy. Excessive communication, which often includes wanting to talk, text, or Skype with a person for hours on end every day. Excessive compliments, to where they are continually reinforcing to their target how perfect they are for them, or how it's so nice that the target is so different from their ex. They might go so far as to specifically address areas that their target is insecure about in order to make them feel safe, secure, and significant, and seemingly loved for who they are, when really they are telling them everything they want to hear. Excessive mirroring. This is where they mirror their target's hopes, dreams, mindsets, interests back to them. This creates a very deep connection quickly, as human beings are wired to like and trust other people that are similar to them. Telling the target deeply personal stories or secrets, which are most likely not even true, during the first few times interacting with them. Pushing boundaries and trying to get sex out of their target as quickly as possible, and trying to make the target feel insecure, paranoid, or guilty if they don't. Having a lot of sex. Sex is a very common weapon of manipulators, as it often creates an intense chemical, physical, and emotional bond, especially if the narcissist is having a lot of sex with their target, as well as giving them false flattery and talking about their ideal life together, future faking. Hinting at or talking about moving in together, marriage, or starting a business with someone they've known for less than a few months. Being overly helpful and coming to the rescue. Any free help from an emotional manipulator always comes with a huge cost in the long run. Pushing for forgiveness or for you to trust them when they've done a bunch of deal-breaker things and have acted in an untrustworthy way. For emotional manipulators, rushing intimacy is usually done to obtain some source of supply: sex, money, housing, transportation, social status, public image, or ego boost. And they do this by creating a manufactured soulmate type of connection and assessing and exploiting their target's vulnerabilities along the way. They will tell their target everything the target wants to hear, which usually includes false promises, false flattery, and giving false hope that they can change. It is important to remember that pretty much everyone, narcissist or not, is on their best behavior during the first 90 or so days of knowing them, especially the more charming ones. So what you see during that time isn't who they are, but who they want you to think that they are. News story. Our relationship moved at light speed. Right away we were talking for hours every day, and within the first few weeks he began talking about us moving in together and hinting about marriage. I thought these types of whirlwind romances were romantic and only something that happened in a movie. Looking back, I trusted him because he told me he grew up with an abusive father, and I could relate, as I grew up with an abusive father too. I felt sorry for him and thought we could help each other heal. Fast forward, we did get married, and shortly after the honeymoon, my life became a living hell. I found out about a ton of lies and other women, and frankly, I'm not even sure he was ever abused. If anything, I think his father cut off contact with him because he's a total sociopath and his dad had enough. When I did finally kick him out, he drained my account, including my child's college fund. I can't believe I trusted him, or that I fell for any of it. It was about 10 years before I dated again, and I am now happily married to a wonderful man. We moved super slow in the beginning, and what we have is built on something real. Laura.